Now, there's two types of houses in the Midwest. You either have rhubarb growing in your garden, or you got your neighbor's rhubarb. And you can do a lot with rhubarb. It makes great pies, but you can make rhubarb bars, rhubarb cake. Today, I'm gonna make a classic grandma's rhubarb Kuchen. Kuchen is just like a general German word for cake. You're gonna find a lot of different Kuchen recipes. Most Kuchen is usually kind of like a pie dough crust and then some sort of custard or fruit filling in it. Rhubarb is picked, clean your rhubarb off, and now we're gonna chop it into like 1/2 inch slices. About 11 stalks of rhubarb for 3 cups. Some people shave or peel the outer stalks, but I don't think it's necessary when you're baking it. You throw the leaves out or save them for the neighbors you don't like. Don't eat the leaves, they're poisonous. If you eat the leaves, they cause kidney failure. You need to eat like 10 pounds of them though for it to be a lethal dose. Even like if you eat probably 5 pounds of them, it's gonna, it's gonna mess with your kidneys. For the dough, you usually find 2 kinds of Kuchen doughs, where you have a soft dough, where you add yeast and it has to rise for a little bit, or you have almost more of just a straight pie dough. And so we're just doing the more pie dough style. We're gonna start by cutting our butter into our flour. The recipe I'm using comes from my great grandma's cookbook out of South Dakota, which Kuchen is like this official state dessert of South Dakota. That's why you gotta diversify your church cookbooks. Of like, you wanna make brandy slush, you're gonna have a church cookbook from Wisconsin. You wanna make lefse, get like a church cookbook from Minnesota. You wanna make Kuchen, have one from South Dakota. Measure out 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You're just gonna cut the butter into the flour with either a fork or some knives or a pastry cutter if you have it, or even your hands works fine, until it's like the size of peas. Once your butter is mixed in there, you're gonna add 2 tablespoons of 1/2 and 1/2 or cream. Spray or butter your cake pan. This is a little easier than a pie dough because you're not actually forming a ball and rolling it out. Take your beautiful rhubarb, and we're gonna make a little custard. Crack 3 eggs, make a custard for the Kuchen, a little Nuken in the Kuchen. I think that's Dutch for something. Whoops, I got an eggshell in there. Happens to the best of us. Add a cup of sugar and 1/2 cup of cream, or 1/2 and 1/2. People didn't really eat rhubarb until the early to mid 1800s when sugar started to become widely available because it's such a bitter vegetable. Before then, it was really used as like a Chinese medicine, mostly as a laxative. But this cake is not a laxative. And guess what? More butter, but not as much butter. You use 1/2 stick or 4 tablespoons, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of flour, and then sprinkle the streusel on top. Bake this in the oven for about 45 to 50 minutes until just right. Call me grandma, that's looking pretty good. But we can't eat it yet because it's gotta cool. It is piping hot. It will not set. And then you will cry and summer is ruined. But I wanna cut into it. And that's Midwestern sharing. Your neighbor gives you some rhubarb, and you maybe give him some desserts. Yeah, I'll take another. Should I be dangerous? Let's try a little.
Don't do it.
Try a little rhubarb leaf. It's kind of bitter. It's not, I don't think you'd want to eat that even if it was edible. But during World War I, there was a shortage of food in England, and I mean a lot of places, but during World War I, there's a shortage of food in England, so the British government started convincing people to try eating rhubarb leaves because they had rhubarb, but it went terrible and people were getting rhubarb poisoning.